Welcome to another edition of Straight Grown Talk this November 1st, 2020. Today we have a special show. But before we get into today's agenda, let's talk about some house business. So our house business is as follows. Please remember, come Tuesday, November 3rd, we need to vote. It is urgent that everyone get to the poll to vote. This election is like no other election, and once again, we need to show up by the numbers and show that we have just as much voting power as the next person. Secondly, remember, we're still in a pandemic. Don't forget to wash your hands, use sanitizer, and practice 6 feet distance. So again, make sure you remember we are still in COVID. Don't get out there in the street and act like that, oh, we don't have COVID anymore, because people are still dying every day. And as you know, I always bring information to you. So, Georgia, understand that we are still 50,000 people not receiving unemployment, as well as we have numerous of people that still not getting assistance that they need. Please go on to Straight Grown Talk website and you will find information that will surely help you receive help that you need. As well as we have a special guest today in the house, and her name is Miss Melody Level. And I want to introduce Miss Level. We've been friends for quite some years, and she is specialized in a numerous of things. She's been on many speaking engagements of mine, and she is all about business and finance and taxes and everything. So I have an honor of having her in the house today as we speak about accounting and this upcoming year, 2020, for taxes. She is the one and only Miss Melody Level. So tell us about Miss Melody Level.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for this opportunity. Yes, I am the owner of MLE Enterprises and Business Solutions. And so we're here to talk about accounting and bookkeeping and how to make sure that your businesses are organized. A lot of people have gone into small business, become small business owners. And so with all of that, it's like they're not completely accurately set up and organized. So that's where my team and I come in, and we try to organize you from bookkeeping, accounting, to business structure and business organization and all of that.
Okay, so let's jump right in. First, I want you to pull your mic just a little bit closer to you.
Okay.
Thank you. Let's jump right into the first topic. So many of you know that when the pandemic did arrive, we were told by the government that we was going to get some monies to help small businesses because our nation closed down. And as you all aware, that we closed down for several months. During that time period, a lot of companies have closed up, and some of our small businesses are not able to get back on its feet as the government had anticipated based upon the figures that they were going with at the time. As you all aware, they were issuing PPP, many different loans to assist and help with everyday needs to keep the American people working. So one thing people have to understand, United States is a corporation, one. And two, this well-oiled machine cannot stop at any cost necessary. So that goes back to what I say by this well-oiled machine is ran by us, the people. That's why I'm telling you to get out and vote. But at the same token and time, this well-oiled machine fell apart due to a pandemic that we had no control over. So unfortunately, even though we shut down for some months and you find some major companies that were hit and the smaller companies that are now struggling to get the everyday life of us back on track so this machine can start moving again, we needed some help. With that help, we found out that they were giving money out by the droves that we thought. And I want to clear up some misconceptions about the different loans. So can we get into a little bit about that?
Yes, we can. So In the beginning, February, they opened up around February, the government started offering, SBA, started offering small business loans to the business owners. It was an opportunity for small business owners like the self-employed, contract workers, that kind of things, businesses with employees, to offer loans to be able to substantiate during the pandemic. And so in the beginning, SBA did all these loans for small businesses trying to help them out. Well, that money went on, all the applications went in, and people were applying and they were getting these loans. Well, then they realized that there was a need for payroll protection. So that's where we moved on up into the PPP. And that's what became so familiar, and that's what's out there now. All these people applied, they got PPP, which was an opportunity for them to basically be able to receive money from the government to help with payroll, based on them having employees, either 1 to however many employees. So during the time of the pandemic, that they would not be able, in a crunch where they couldn't provide for their staff, in the event when we did open back up and we were able to go back to help these businesses continue thriving.
Now, needless to say, even though they offered us this money, many of the small businesses has still closed their businesses because, unfortunately, due to the pandemic, they could not survive even with the little money that the government did give. Notice I'm saying little money that the government did give. Even though a lot of people think they gave hundreds and thousands of dollars out, that's based on the classification of your businesses.
That's true.
So what we found was that a lot of businesses was doing or creating fraud businesses to get that money. But the actual small businesses that actually needed that money did not get what they should have gotten to keep the employees and employment running. So now we have a surge of unemployment. So let me clearly make you understand about unemployment. Unemployment has been going on since what day of the pandemic?
The official pandemic date was February 23rd.
Okay, so since the 23rd of February, we've been nationally known to be in a pandemic. However, unemployment started shortly then after, and it's based upon how many weeks that you was approved and how many weeks you're supposed to get funding. Many of those people have fallen off the system because they only had so many weeks accumulated in the first place. After that, their numbers of unemployments that Trump is quote unquote giving us, oh, we got the best unemployment rate in history. No, we don't. Those people fell off the system because they cannot be counted once their weeks are up. Didn't mean that they went back to work for someone else, because as you guys are aware, you're looking at buildings all over the place where you're seeing massive amount of businesses that are closing up, empty spaces. Now you can go into commercial residence and get them almost pennies on a dollar.
Right.
So with that being said, I want to talk about this upcoming tax season, because now we're finna address the issues
of unemployment.
That you should have had your business in order, but guess what? You got that money. Now what's next?
That's true. Just to piggyback just a little bit on the unemployment, a lot of people are affected this year with unemployment. A lot of people have had that didn't normally receive unemployment or basically receiving it now. So what will happen is when you fall into the line of it becoming into a tax situation, those people may be used to having earned income where they don't, because they began to get on unemployment like in March. And so the majority of this year, they may have been on unemployment. So that earned income where they're used to receiving is not there from their employment. So unemployment is not considered earned income. So therefore, any type of credits that you may have or been used to getting based on the fact of you having dependents and all of that, which is known as like the Earned Income Credit, EIC, you will not have those same amounts this year because you don't have that much of earned income. Again, I stress to you that unemployment is not considered earned income. If you've been on unemployment for the majority of this year, then of course your wages and your earnings are going to be based off unemployment. So those kind of credits that brought nice refunds that a lot of people are accustomed to, they won't see that this year. So what do we have to do? We have to prepare ourselves that guess what? Our refunds are going to be smaller. It may be a case that when you drew your unemployment, you had the option to say, I want my federal withholding, I want my state withholding to come out, and you chose no. So if you didn't pay any taxes in on that money, there's no taxes for you to try to get back or be applied to your tax liability at the end of the year. So guess what? You might end up with a balance due, something you've never had before. So how do we prepare ourselves for this?
You're right.
How do we know, as taxpayers to be able to be prepared for what's going to happen? Because a lot of people are going to be affected in this new status of their finances just based on the world being in a pandemic.
So let me elaborate on what she's talking about. You know how all of these people see these signs on the road and say that you're going to get $6,500 back or $7,500, $8,500. Guess what? A lot of you guys are not going to get that this year because of this unemployment. So please go back into a little detail about that. How long were they actually able to claim their income?
Well, your earned income would be from the point that you became unemployed and became eligible for unemployment. So a lot of unemployment claims kicked in the 1st of March. So if you've been on unemployment from March to now, you don't have any earned income. So at that point, you're looking at 2.5 months of earned income from your employer before we went into pandemic and went into being on unemployment. So you look at in those 2 months, if you only made $2,500, that's all the earned income you have for the year. So therefore, your earned income credit, EIC, those numbers that are on those signs, based on your dependents, you're only going to get earned income credit based on that $2,500, however amount it is, which we know won't be a lot on $2,500. So that's when I say, those refunds that we would normally see are going to be less. And sometimes refunds for some people are the most money that they will receive all year long at one time. Refunds for some people are ways to buy cars, they are ways to move, they are ways to put down on houses. Refunds signify so much to someone's life. And to know now that they may not have that is something that a lot of people are going to have to deal with the effects of that.
I want to get into one important thing that I want everyone to know. What is actually getting a refund back means?
When you receive a refund, your refund is the overpayment of taxes you've either paid in. It will be combined with credits that you may receive, again, earned income credit, child tax credit. There can be education credits. All these things incorporate into a refund. And so that's how we end up with a refund.
Oh, wait, Mike just don't want to stay still for you.
I guess he say I don't need a mic. I'm loud enough. But those are the things that are incorporated into your refund. It's an overpayment. Are we there? Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
We having a little technical
difficulties.
Yes, but we're going to stomach all the way through this. And we're going to make sure that we continue to express and talk about what the people need to know this coming tax season to help them and to understand. One of the major things I want people to understand is that a refund is not extra. It's actually to subsidize the income you should have gotten already. So when people say, "Oh, I got $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 back," but that's mean you're in the lower end of income if you're getting a tax refund back. So please understand, it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. I really didn't understand that until I actually started having to pay taxes. So unfortunately, I now understand how the importance of it is. So, and I feel good about it. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
It is. And sometimes people think that, I need to get a refund. Well, sometimes you're still good if you just break even.
Yes.
Sometimes not having a balance due and just breaking even. Okay, I don't owe them, they don't owe me, we're cool. It works out. Or having a small balance due or just getting a small refund. It's still okay.
So I want to talk about now, since we've talked about the personal a little bit, how that's going to affect. I want to get into a little bit about the business aspect, because we, the people that have small businesses like you and I, is going to be greatly affected this year. So I want to talk about our setup structure. I want to talk about what we need to be prepared for this coming tax season. I want to talk about the things that you recommend for us, and the things that we should pay attention to. And in with all that being said, I wanted to make sure that we know this money that we receive from the government, the SBA and all those loans that were longevity of paying the 2.9% interest that you have some years to pay back. there's going to come a time when you have to worry about your taxes. So let's talk about those things.
And just to piggy on the SBA loans and your PPP loans. So right now they were really based at a 1% rate of payback. In the beginning, they were like you had 2 years to pay them back. Now, there was another act passed to where they gave you 5 years to pay it back, and still at the 1% rate. But now there is no, people are beginning to go into the PPP forgiveness. I want to apply. How do I do that? Some of that is still hasn't been totally worked out. One thing I will advise people that took out the PPP loans to make sure that their books are in order. You need to be able to justify why you took, where you applied this money to. It was supposed to be for payroll. It was supposed to be for rents, mortgage interests, as far as business expenses and those things. So documentation is going to be key. When you're applying for forgiveness, they need to see your documents, and they want to verify your payroll. Part of that forgiveness application, there will be calculations to say how much of this went to actually payroll. And if you don't have your payroll, your books together, then that is where you're going to fall short. There it is where you're going to need great accounting and someone on your team that can really, really help you out to be able to go through this forgiveness and this application process. And that's the point of being able to apply, but have your documentation. And that's where throughout this time, it has to be that you have gone in and you've kept up with your records. I mean, I know a lot of my small businesses clients, they're not as organized as I would like them to be, but we're working on that. And so, and they have their stuff, but it's like, okay, if they need to verify income, then they'll just have like, okay, here's the bank statements. But when you got to think about it now, as times are going, financialness, you can't walk into a bank with your bank statements and say, well, this is my income. They want to see profit and loss statements. They want to see your financials. And if you're saying you're a business and you're walking in and you say, I want 50,000, I want 150,000, and you don't look organized, they're going to look at that. Those things are becoming huge when we go into trying to go into these banks and these lenders. They don't want to lend you money and you don't appear to be in order and organized and you're asking for this type of money.
Okay, so let's talk about the structure. What does that structure need to look like in order for us to be able to go into a bank and say, SBA, can I have some money, please?
First of all, you need to know the difference. If you say, yeah, I'm organized, my business is incorporated. Okay, understand what type of incorporation are you? Are you a LLC? Are you a LLP? Are you a sole proprietor? Are you a C Corp or an S Corp? Know what your business structure is. Just don't say, oh, I'm registered with the Secretary of State. What does that really mean? What does that really mean? You got your business registered with the Secretary of State. I'm an LLC, and then you speak. Are you a sole member? Or do you have a partner in there? So those are the things first you need to understand your business structure.
Yes, and that means that you need to what? Research and understand when you come to people like me and Melody that when we're trying to educate you on what your structure is like and for best for your company or your needs at the moment, we're trying to educate you on things that you need to know. Don't come back 5-6 years. I went to go get a loan and they asked me some questions I didn't know. Well, I gave you a folder and it had everything in it.
Right.
We're very structured. So go look for the folder. Where's the folder? Because I don't have it. You do.
And then they also have to know what type of business structure they're seeking when they say, I want to start a business. Well, you need to know, do you want to be a sole proprietor? Do you want to be a LLC? What do you want to be? And then how does those structures determine your life? When you're a sole proprietor, it's just you by yourself. When you're an LLC, you're saying I'm a limited liabilities company, which means if there was everything anybody ever tried to sue me, you could only sue me for the assets in my business and not my personalness. So these are these things that when people say, oh, I want to start a business, you need to key down and understand and key in on what type of business your structure is. So that's the first part of one thing we do at MLE is just to go in and do consultations to be able to determine, okay, what type of business do you want to be? What type of a business entity are you trying to seek? And we advise you from the beginning and give you the breakdown on the different types of structures and how they are prevalent to you and your business. And sometimes the structure that you choose is based on the type of business you're in.
Correct. Correct. Because all business structures are not the same. Just like she said, she mentioned about the sole proprietor, she mentioned about the LLC, but there's S Corp, C Corp. There are many different structures. You have to find out what's best for you. And understand when you're making these decisions, understand that it's going to affect your bottom line when it's come time to pay those taxes. So please understand about business structure. So what is the next thing that we need to know upon we're getting our portfolio together and we're interested in obtaining a loan? So what are the things I heard you say about the profit and loss? Tell our audience about what that is. Profit and loss is what?
So your profit and loss statement is basically it's a record of all your income that you took in, minus out your expenses that you've incurred for the year doing your business, and then your net at the end is your profit or loss. Net at the end can be positive or negative. So what creates that is you keep an account of all your income, payables, receivables, all that stuff goes in, and you would have an accountant or a bookkeeper, somebody taking on the role of accessing all your expenses throughout the year. Somebody handling payroll, because that's an expense for a business, your rents and all those things. So if you don't have a true understanding of what your payroll or what your expenses are for your business, you can't really say, well, my business is profitable. But how do you know that? So those are the things that have to go in. One of the huge things we do as small business owners when we first get started, we start commingling funds. My one advice that I advise all my clients is always go open up a business checking account. Your business checking accounts are operational accounts. There are payroll accounts. I try to advise them to have one account for operations of the business and one account for payroll. The best thing you can ever do is always be able to have everything separate. And as small business owners, at times you are your business. So you may be paying for stuff out your personal account, and then you might have some stuff at the business account, or there's not enough money in my business account, so I'm transferring money out my personal account to cover expenses. And I'm just like, no. That's commingling. You can't do that.
Yeah.
You know, you got to have it separate. And that's one of the things.
For that one.
That's one of the hardest things. And I tell my clients all the time, you know, when you're your business, you wear two hats. When you're out there in the streets, you need to understand what you're doing. When you're operating as your business, then you got I am the business owner hat. When you're out here operating as yourself, then you know what? You ain't got to wear no hat, or you just wearing my me hat. So that is the best way that I've been able to advise my clients. Be like, look, when you're doing business, put your business hat on. When you just doing you, wear your regular hat and use that account for all business activity, because at the end, when it comes to auditing or being able to verify any income, any expenses, you want to be able to pull those documents from that bank account. You know, back in the day, we could do a spreadsheet or something like that. And the banks and stuff, these lenders are not, utilizing that. They want to see some type of accounting, something from an accounting software that is saying that these are legit and all of that. Pen and paper ain't doing it no more.
Yes. We have to all step into the computer technology field and understand that it is our friend. Trust and believe it is necessary for today's growth. Now, one of the things I want to get more and more into is after we've gotten the business structure, after we've gotten the profit and loss, what's next?
Your financials, you may have a balance sheet. You can show your assets. I mean, all these things to sit here and say what your business is. But for the most part, the profit and loss, your financials, are what most lenders look at. They want to be able to see income going in, expenses going out. And also, too, some people, let's just piggyback on the part when we were talking about the tax aspect of it. People think, oh, my business was a loss, and that's what they're after, because the loss they realize will reduce that tax liability. Well, you can't go into a bank and say, oh, my business was at a $25,000 loss. They're not going to loan you any money. They're going to say you're not profitable.
And understand, if you got a $25,000 loss, I don't care what your business credit look like. It doesn't matter. You're not going to get the loan. Please understand that.
They want to know that you in a business making some money. If your business is at a loss, how are you going to pay me back this money you asking for?
Correct.
So we have to change our mindset about that as well. Like, oh, my business, well, it's been in a loss for, 1, 2, 3 years. No, that's not good. You want to be in the business of making money and being profitable.
Yes, 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 definitely. You definitely want to show at the end of the year that your business is making some money. And I get it. When you're a small business, you're trying not to pay back so much money because again, every penny that you're making and earning, you can put back into your business for something else, or you can put into another area of the business to make it grow. But when we're trying to elevate and we're trying to get more money to be able to grow by getting some help from the SBA and all the other government programs, we have to look a certain way. We can't go to the bank, as we love to say, raggedy. You got to come with your information and your briefcase ready to, give the document right. You got to show that business portfolio, what you're about. Lay it on the table and say, this is me. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're telling a complete stranger what your business is like. And it should show basically a story of your business.
That's true.
It should lay it out clear. So there's no questions, nothing. Even down to what you spend in expenses as marketing and what you spend on Christmas activities, whatever the case is, donations, everything that you do in the community, all of that, it needs to lay out a story for them to say, here, we want to give you some money.
And you're going to see when you're going into the banks, they're going to ask you for a portfolio. And those things that I was speaking of is what's in that portfolio. That's your profit and loss, your financials, what type of business assets do you have. You have to realize that that's what speaks for your business. Mm-hmm. And so when you're submitting applications, I mean, especially with COVID now, we can't really go into the banks anymore and sit there and impress that lender, that banker. We have to provide stuff. Drop it off, upload, send it in the application. So whatever you're uploading, submitting, or whatever, if it's not thorough and doesn't look accurate and it has to speak for you and your business. So of course you want to make sure that portfolio and your documents are on point. As a good reputation of your company.
Okay, so what is the next phase after we've gotten our structure together that we want to go to these SBAs and ask for this money that the government is willingly giving that we need? Because one of the things I did experience was a lot of people were applying and they were told they were pre-approved. And they were jumping up and down because they thought they got this money that was coming. But then you received an email that said, we need some more documents. And those documents consisted of what?
Either more financials, profit and loss statements, more banking information. A lot of denials was based on inconsistent information. So they're saying what you submitted just doesn't seem consistent to what we need to do to be able to approve you. A lot of it had to be with the simple fact that you were raggedy. Your business was not organized enough to be going to the government saying, hey, I need this money. So again, that's where accounting and bookkeeping comes in, that you have to be organized. And that's the reason a lot of them were denied for those reasons alone, because they were inconsistent. The bank statements, you might have said, I'm making $150,000, but then you provide bank statements that only showed $75,000 because you didn't include the money from Cash App or PayPal or Venmo or all those type of other places that we're getting income in that you didn't include in your documentation. You just went by, okay, here's the bank statements. But when you wrote in that application, you said, my business is making this. So again, that's where that accounting comes in. That all that has to be accounted for because that determines your true business income. It's part of your income.
Okay, so now we've gotten the application submitted. Mm-hmm. They came back and said we needed some other things. We've gotten this money, and now it's in our account. So let's talk about when you said earlier about the loss, the things that we can write off to be able to offset the money.
As far as the PPP.
Correct.
Okay, so as far as PPP, it was based on payroll protection. So therefore, the majority of that money was supposed to be spent on payroll to help accommodate small businesses that were due to COVID, that wasn't making enough revenue to compensate their employers and run their business as well. So that was the purpose of the loan. So now we're going into forgiveness and we're saying, hey, I'm up and running again, but we're still in this pandemic. I don't think I'm going to be able to continue to manage my business and run my business and pay back this money. So I want to go through the forgiveness part. So forgiveness part of saying for going through the forgiveness application is they want to know you are required to spend the majority on this money on payroll, salaries, either for you being the only person in the business or for your employees as well. So when it comes down to providing that, again, documentation that you're going to have to include on that forgiveness application. And if you hadn't kept record of that, or if you did not leave the money for those things, then again, your application for forgiveness is going to be denied as well.
Now, I want to get into this when we spoke earlier about the raggedy side. So many of you went out the moment they said it was giving out money, and you went to Secretary of State, opened your business. Some of you opened up bank accounts, some of you didn't, but me and Melody both got phone calls off the chain in regards to I am now into business and all I care about is getting this money. But when you get this money, the following tax year, you're going to have to answer some questions. And they're going to be, Uncle Sam is going to be looking for those documentations in which Miss Melody just spoke about. Those things you got to have in order. It is necessity. It is required for you to have certain things in order. So when you get a knock on your door for things not being organized, don't get afraid then, because you wasn't afraid when you sit up here and told the government I need this money, and you went and spent and bought TVs and cars and everything else. That's not what that money was for.
No.
It was for the small business, true small businesses. Not you going out here and just saying, oh, it's the come up. No, it's not. It's not a come up. It never was meant for a come up. It is meant for small businesses. If you had a dream and wanted to become a business owner, great. If you got the money, that's great. But it was never meant for you to go out of here and just ball out of control like that one rapper they had.
Yeah.
He
got it like instantly. We were just figuring out about it. He done got it and got caught, and we're like, what?
Right. And now he's all over the news. He went and paid back child support. Really? Really? You didn't pay it all this time, but you wait till you got the money. You paid it. So again, make sure your things are in order. We're trying to the presentation of this show is about straight grown talk for the community. It is to let you know uncut what you need to be doing instead of you coming up at the end of the year raggedy. So please understand that. Not about that. We're about putting our business in order.
We pay more. We charge more for raggediness.
Oh yes, trust me, we do. We do charge more for raggedy. And this last minute thing that everybody would do.
Raggedy.
Oh, I definitely charge, and I know Miss Melody does too. Yes, you're gonna come and say we need some help. We gonna gladly help you, but please understand that's a healthy fee. Please understand that. Now, let's get back to business. So. Now that we've gotten this money, now that we're at the end of the year, it's tax season, it's coming up. Okay, now what's next?
Well, before that, the how to pay back and what they're truly going to do hasn't come down concrete yet. So let's just say that. So as of right now, some people are applying for forgiveness and all of that as far as that part, as far as forgiving. But truly, we don't know. It hasn't been concluded yet on how it's really going to affect tax season, because that's still something that's still going along with the stimulus package and all of that is still pending. So we don't know how it's really today is going to affect taxes for next year. But either way, right now you need to be prepared that you got to have documentation, whether it's going to be considered income or not.
Oh, we have a caller. Thank you for calling Straight Grown Talk.
I'm sorry, I was trying to actually listen to the show.
Well, you're on live. How can we help you?
Actually, I'm good. I wanted to actually hear the calls and the conversation.
Oh, you want to do
good.
Okay, so let me drop some knowledge for you. Go to Straight Grown Talk, Facebook Live, or you can go to author LaKel Farley and pick the show up live.
Straight Grown Talk on Facebook. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Have a great call.
Do you have a question?
I do not. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So, I know we've been talking about a lot of the PPP. What about the EDIC?
Well, that was based on, in the beginning, that was for part of disaster assistance, and if they were doing just small employee little loans for based on the amount of employees you had. And that was the term. That was only, that grant was less than, it was, the max of that was like 10,000. And that went out, I think, that was part of that first phase. But there wasn't, I don't, and from my understanding and what I saw come through us, we didn't have a lot of traffic in that. It was more SBA, the full-fledged applications for that. And people were just, but with that one, it was just, that was kind of a grant. And it was like based on the number of employees you had. And the max, I think that one was like $10,000 that they got.
And a lot of people didn't understand or realize that when they were going online to fill out the application, that they need to stroll all the way down to the bottom and click the box, and then it will let you go on to apply for the other loans that was granted. A lot of people were missing that. I think some of the celebrities got online and really went through the details of how these loans were meant to be and what you need to pay attention to and stuff like that. So that did come out earlier in the year as well.
The beginning parts of it, yeah. And then that kind of just faded out because then the full-fledged SBA and then PPP, and they were doing that. People were more apt to doing that because it was more money.
Now, let's talk about a little bit about, for the first time ever, we had a lot of small businesses owners collecting unemployment. And we got what was it, $600
a week.
A week, yes.
And that was a process, and it was heartfelt in one aspect because you have a lot of people that have been self-employed all their lives. They have never had to file for unemployment. And so to go through that process, it was something that they've never experienced. And then teaching them how to learn to upload, verify income, upload documents. It was difficult, I would say. And then for them to see, like, the calculations for that, once they uploaded their documents of what their income may have been, and the way some of them were getting like $180 is what they would get as what they determined their true unemployment is. And then they got the additional $600. So that's how they ended up with weekly benefits, or $780. But when that $600 wore out, it was gone, then all they're getting now is weekly checks of $180. And it's like, okay, I can't live off this. I have to go back to work. And so it caused a lot of people in the beginning, as soon as the levels of the reopening phases were lifted, that kind of stuff, they went back to work, not ready to go, but because they had to go because they can no longer make it off of $180.
So as you heard, media told us, this money that they're getting, they don't want to go back to work. No, many of us never stopped working, or immediately upon them opening back up, went back to work, because again,
it's not enough.
I don't know too many people that can live off $180 a week. I mean, right. Honestly, most people's rent is more than that times 4
the rent
weeks.
On their buildings that they're running their businesses out of. You got to look at all of that. In the beginning, I did hear my clients state where, their landlords of the buildings and all that stuff was giving them breaks. Some of the lenders, your mortgage, the car insurance companies were giving credits and that kind of stuff in the beginning. But after that's over, it's like bills are still due.
So let me clearly make you guys understand this. Foreclosures have already started back. And the Band-Aid that this country had on it, they're slowly lifting it up so that we're going to feel more and more pressure. What you're feeling now is, like, if you notice, most of your magistrate courts are still down. They're doing minimals, the ones that are open, and they're trying to really encourage the tenant and landlord to work things out. Unfortunately, that will probably go away in another couple of weeks as they fully open us back up. I know here in Georgia, I only can speak about Georgia, the northern states have things in place. And please understand, When I mentioned to you on most shows about the South has nothing in place to protect its citizens, meaning us, they don't. Up north, they have everything in the world to protect their citizens, to make sure they thrive, even though we're going through a pandemic. They have things in place that you wouldn't dream of, like some of the things they have housing payment plan.
Right.
Only county that's in Georgia thus far that has something similar to that is Cobb County. And I hate to say that all of us need it, but because that county went through the process of inquiring funds in the very beginning, of course they got it. But again, they went through the process early. They want to put something in place, what if situation. And those are the things that we talk about all the time, what ifs. Right now, no one anticipated this pandemic. No one. You didn't see it. As you guys are aware, our president played it down and said, oh, it'll be over in a couple of weeks. And as you see, we're into all of 2020, just about is gone. And it looks like it's going to continue in 2021. It's considered now the new norm.
Yeah. And
So-
we have to learn how to cope in the
Right.
new norm and still be business savvy.
Right. So as you guys are aware, the more and more that we keep going through the pandemic and things keep changing, be prepared for the newness of what's going on through the pandemic, like the new acceptance of how we're doing banking. As you know, a lot of times you go to your bank, you can't just walk in the door anymore. Even the fact of coming to us, you now have to make appointments because, again, in our office, we practice safe distancing and definitely wearing masks. Everything now is you can do Zoom. Zoom has been a lifesaver. I didn't like it at first.
Me either. I was like, I ain't zooming now. Everything is Zoom.
Yes. Zoom you to death. Zoom is just like that song. Zoom. But now it's a way of what we do everyday business. And if you notice, like a lot of the credit card companies are going to simple things such as your doctor's appointment. Now they're zooming you for doctor's appointments. In fact, they now have it a part of the plan. You know, the booklets that you receive every year from your company if you work or whatever, and they tell you your benefits. It's now considered a benefit. And it's now priced as a benefit. So trust and believe, they're making concessions for every new thing that we had to create during this pandemic.
Yeah.
Oh, they're making sure we go through this again, they're prepared. Our country was at a stop because we were unprepared of what was going to happen next. Right. But again, with Miss Level, we're going to make sure that your books is on target for the 2020 tax season. So what else good nuggets that you can possibly drop with us?
The one that I love to say all the time, do not commingle. That is the biggest one for small business owners. Just learning to have two separate accounts. Stop using your personalness with your business, and to really understand that when they become a business owner, they are business owners. And so you have to start acting, walking, and just being in pace to that every day of who you are. And always remember that, you know, struggle is going to be there, but you hold on to the passion you had when you first decided, when you first had this idea, I want to be a business owner. When it gets tough, you think back to that first time you said, I want to open up this business, I want to have this business. And when you start thinking of that dream and was passionate about it, hold on to that moment, because it'll always be there, and it'll get you through those tough times.
Yes. You have to remember the good days and the bad days, because owning your own business, woo! I must admit, it is a struggle starting off. But once you get past those first few years of it, it is very rewarding. And even now, when we're feeling the crunch and the heartfelt pain of seeing our friends and things go out of business, grab them, give them a hug. Let's be creative and figure out how can we incorporate their business into ours and make it something bigger and magnificent. I mean,
share.
Me and Miss Level is partnering up. We're trying to, get together and do some things together that will help the community more. But at the same token, the business that are struggling, your next door neighbor could be the answer to your prayers of your struggling business. I mean, you gotta take the time and the moments to get on the phone, talk, and for
Don't be scared to
Correct.
go into business with somebody else that's in business. You know, sometimes we feel as black business owners now, sometimes we feel like, well, I can't work with this person. They might take my idea, they might do this and that. Sometimes it be the best comings together, and it makes things a lot easier.
Yes, and it works. I mean, we've had situations where people found themselves on another plateau level because they took a risk and said, I'm going to partner with someone
Somebody
else.
else.
And later, that was the best thing that they could have ever done for their business. Guess what? They didn't lose sleep.
That's right.
They had a lot more free time.
And the last little nugget, if in doubt you can't do it, look for a good accountant and bookkeeper.
Yes. So if I had to, because you gave 2, I want you to give 5.
Okay.
But I want the last 3 to be regarding to the business. What are those nuggets?
Organization is
That's
key.
3.
Organization is key. I want to say, I don't think I can't, because in keeping a business together, you just got to be organized. And if you're not organized in your thoughts and in your structuring, you know, your business is gonna fail. So I can't really think of 2 more, because the most key one is, you know, being organized and don't commingle, and, you know.
Well, I can think of one
Go
more
ahead,
at
dear.
least.
Go
anyway.
ahead.
I can think of take the time and learn your business structure.
That's good. That's good.
Yes.
And see, for me, that's the difference. Because, see, I'm thinking all accounting. See, to me, that's all part of accounting.
And we talked about that earlier. Well, we got to make sure people understand. I mean, you can't just, again, open a business and go to the Secretary of State and open bank. I'm in business. No, what does that mean? What does that look like? I mean, you have an idea.
Or they do that and they never do anything with it.
Correct.
Well, yeah, I registered and I have this and I ain't did nothing with it. I just pay my annual renewal every year.
That's not a business. That is not a business at all. Please understand. That's just a hobby.
It needs a profit.
It is a hobby. It's not a business. It's a hobby. An expensive hobby that you don't pay a lot for, but it's still a hobby. It's not a business until you organize it and treat it as such and have the mind frame, the mentality that I am a business owner. These are my ideas.
That's right.
Don't be afraid to come on Straight Grown Talk and share those ideas. Again, we're always open to have new guests on the show to talk about their business ventures and their expertise and things they're doing in the community. We're always available. That's what this show is about, the community, helping, knowing, and having knowledge. So, with that being said, I would love for Ms. Level to explain to our audience, how can they reach you?
Well, you can always call our office, which is at 770-283-8372, and one of my friendly staff members will be more than happy to assist you. You can reach us on Facebook at MLE Enterprises and Business Solutions on Facebook, and it's the same for Instagram. On as far as the social media, it's MLE Enterprises and Business Solutions out there.
Okay. So, if do you have the website information too?
Website is under construction.
Okay. Well, it'll be up soon, and I promise you, it will be up before the tax season hits.
That's right. Because
And
we
you
have to
can then go on-
incorporate all this new stuff into
Correct.
it. So
Right. And I promise you, before the tax season begins, she will have that website up so you can go to the website.
That's true.
And make an appointment with her. Don't wait till December 31st and talking about, I want to get an appointment, because then she will be extremely busy getting ready for the tax season.
And when
So-
they call the direct line, it gives them that option as well to schedule appointments.
So I want you to take the time one more time and give them that information.
All right, so in order to reach us, you can reach us directly at our office, which is 770-283-8372. We're on Facebook at MLE Enterprises and Business Solutions, or either on Instagram at MLE Enterprises and Business Solutions. Again, you can always call the office, and we are at 770-283-8372, and you can also book appointments via the office as well.
All right, now before we leave, I want you to tell the audience exactly one more time, what is it that your office do?
We specialize in accounting, bookkeeping, and business organizations. So as far as when I say business organization, we will organize your business from A to Z. We as far as structure, helping you decide what kind of structure you want. So once you get your business structure together, you figure out what type of business you want and how you're going to proceed with that business, then we can take over accounting, bookkeeping, payroll. We are branching out into insurance. We're branching out into the credit repair, all of that, where the ultimate goal is to become a one-stop
shop
financial business solution for the small business owner.
That's what I'm talking about. So again, our Straight Grown Talk community, you have just spent time with Miss Melody Level today, going over the do's and don'ts and what you need to prepare for if you have a business, and what to do if you've taken out the SBA loan, and what to do if you've done the PPP. Get yourself organized. Make sure your documentation is in order. And for God's sake, when you get ready to go to your accountants this year, think of all the things that you're going to need. So please make an appointment. She can send you a checklist of things you're going to need, and make sure you have everything in order when you go to your accountant. Don't come with a bunch of boxes of receipts and say, you figure it out. Because that's not how it works if you're a real business owner. So, again, I want to thank everyone with Straight Grown Talk for joining us today live. Look forward to seeing you again. Hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Don't forget to go out and vote on Tuesday. Look forward. And also, for God's sake, remember social distancing. We all love you and hope you have a wonderful day.